Well, hello once again. We finished off chapter 9 and we're going to go into chapter 10, which is what I wrote my book on Nostradamus, Branham, and the little book of Revelation 10. So I want to stop right here and just go back into the seventh seal of the book that I wrote and pick up and just kind of review what we've gone over a little bit, and then we'll go on into chapter 10. So under this second seal, we're going to review the seventh seal entails chapters Revelation 8 to 20, 13 chapters. William Branham was the seventh angel when the seventh seal opened at the birth of William Branham. Then later at the baptismal river, he received his commission. In the spirit, he knew that he was the seventh church angel messenger. And he voiced that to his followers who believed him, but those who were not his followers and didn't believe him threw rotten eggs at him and have vilified him ever since that. Although he knew what the Lord had called him to do, and he just voiced it. And sometimes we do that. We shouldn't do that. Let's let people find out later. Where most seals were biblically attested to, as we saw, by only 2 or 3 verses, the sixth seal had 6 verses to its witness, but the seventh seal has 13 chapters. Therefore, it must be an especially important thing he wants us to see in this. And I've already told you about the silence in heaven after William Branham died. There was 30 years of silence where the silent majority, that of Jerry Falwell and the rest of us, let Bible reading and prayer be taken out of schools. And during those 30 years, we fell into apostasy. And the churches, people just started abandoning churches, and that's why there's so many little groups now, because those of us who understand what was happening have come out of those churches and formed little groups rather than go along with the doctrine of those larger churches, which we saw leading into ecumenicalism, which is leading into the one world church and the one world government. When the seven thunders sounded, which was 1995, then the little book of Revelation 10 and all of the information that I'm giving you in these different books that I've studied, is particularly the information on the catching away at the second coming, came after those seven thunders in 1995. The Lord began revealing all this stuff to me. And the little book of Revelation 10 was revealed to me as being the prophet Nostradamus' work, which people call him an occult prophet. But what the Lord did with him was give him detailed history, the actual detailed history from the time Jesus left to the time he's coming back. In other words, Jesus came and he opened the book of Revelation to our understanding. It's been open throughout all these church ages as it was unfolding, and people could only see it during their time, which was happening. Now, as we look back over it, just like as we look back over the Bible, we can see how it was all put together, and now we're just looking forward to the second coming, which is shortly to happen. And so the Lord has poured out to me the understanding and the picture of how this is going to happen. And it's going to be amazing when you see this in Revelation 11. But in Revelation 10, what he did was, the book of Revelation was what was written on the inside of the book of Revelation, because it was open. It was just being progressively revealed to us, and it was more like an overview of the churches. But the little book in Revelation 10 was an actual another book on the backside that was still sealed up. This backside book was still sealed up. And this was the work that the Lord gave to the prophet Nostradamus, Michael Nostradamus, who was a Messianic Jew. He was a believer. He didn't sit on a tripod. The tripod that it was talking about was the triune God. And in this book, I show you exactly how he did that, and how the Lord hid it from the evil people of the world so that his book would endure, which I have read. And the Lord has given me 300 spiritual quatrains that he wrote, four-line poetic verses that were absolutely just for the church of this day. And it reveals who the last Antichrist is. And as we go through this teaching, I'm actually going to tell you who he is. You don't even have to buy the book. But if you want better understanding, you can go buy the book at Amazon.com or authorhouse.com or any other online bookstore. It'd be worth your money if you want to. I don't get much of it anyway, so they're getting rich. I'm not. So that's the little book of Revelation. 10 was revealed to Nostradamus, and it is in my book, everything he shows us. He absolutely had Hitler. He had the World Wars. He even had the routes laid out that happened during World War I and II, and said that World War III will be the same path or the same routes that were taken in World War I. So it's very instructive if anybody wanted to really get into it and find out exactly what's going to happen. Now, the seventh church, all seven trumpets, all seven plagues, and all seven vials fall under the seventh seal. So in other words, each of the seals opened a church age, and there was a church age angel messenger. But when we get to the seventh seal, seventh church age, and we have all the only what's going to fall under there are the plagues, the vials, and the seven trumpet judgment trumpet angels. Okay, this is the seal of final completion. When the seven thunders sounded on September 3rd, 1995, nuclear testing began again worldwide. Beginning with France, and who was the first to break the nuclear test ban treaty. At the revelation of Nostradamus, Branham, and this little book, we will return back to the fathers, a new age of the apostles. And that's what I was trying to tell people. Satan has already beat the church out of the starting gate with his counterfeit called the New Age movement. Once again, the apostles will go toe-to-toe with paganism and false anointed ones. And I'll tell you a little story. While I was attending Jimmy Swaggart Ministries before I was kicked out twice for trying to get the truth out to them and so forth. That's in my other book, Jimmy Swaggart, the Anointed Cherub, that covers. I had an actual battle in the church with this little Jewish woman who was henpecking her way to the top of the ministry and telling everyone what to do. The false anointed one, as we went to battle, speaking in tongues against each other. I was praying at the altar, and she grabbed my wrist and shook it and spoke to me in tongues, which were the devil's tongues. And I'm praying to her in the Lord's Prayer language. And we were actually doing a battle in the spirit world. Our angels or our spirits were at battle in the spirit world. And finally, I looked at her and I said, the devil cannot cast out the devil. Satan cannot cast out Satan. And when I did, she dropped my hand. It was like I smacked her in the face, and she walked backwards and got out of there and left me alone. So I guarantee you, I have confronted an actual false anointed one. And through everything that I have learned and revealed and read, to you, the Lord has been the one that has instructed and given these things to me. And I have walked through many things that he shows me, because I've walked through them. He gives me the experience so that I know how to teach it. Now, let's see if there was anything else I needed to tell you. I told you that Revelation 10 was open but was sealed, and only until after the seven thunders could the revelation of book 10 be revealed. And we're going to read that right now, because this is when the one world government and the one world religion is coming together. We see it right before our eyes right now. And it will lead to the second coming. Chapter 10. And I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven, clothed with a cloud. And the rainbow of the cloud was upon his head, and his face was as though it were the sun, and his legs as pillars of fire. Okay. There's this mighty angel. This mighty angel is Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach. He's coming down from heaven clothed with a cloud. He comes with the cloud. He comes with the cloud of witnesses. These are his angels. And the rainbow of the cloud was upon his head. That is the seven colors of the rainbow represent white light. So in other words, we see this angel that is clothed in totally white light. And it's Jesus, and his face was as though the sun is so bright you can't look at it, and his legs as pillars of fire. And we remember that in the Old Testament that the Lord came in the cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. So this is absolutely describing God, Jesus, Yeshua, coming to do something. And what he does, he had in his hand a little book open. Okay, the little book open. All right. And he set his right foot upon the sea. And he set his right foot upon those of us Christians who believe in the water of the word, the sea, and his left foot on the land, the earth, the spiritual earth, those that are made from earth, people that are not his. So he's got one foot on the Christians, people, and one foot on the non-Christians. And he's saying, with a loud voice, as a lion roars, and he cried, seven thunders sounded their voices. Okay. Now, seven thunders sounded their voices. So these are all seven thunders, all seven of these angels, these judgment angels, sounding their voices, and they sound all at one time. Now, these seven thunders had spoken. I was about to write. He's going to write something. This is what's sealed on the back side of Revelation, the book of Revelation. But he said, seal up those things with the seven thunders uttered, and do not write them. He couldn't write them right then because they weren't to be revealed. You can't... prophecy is things that are spoken before they happen. So what Nostradamus did, he had the book of future events, detailed history, but it could not be opened until the proper time. Now that we're at the proper time when those seven thunders sounded literally to the world listening on September 3rd, 1995, the vessels were out, the Rainbow Warrior, and that's funny too because it was called the Rainbow Warrior, and Jesus was the Rainbow Warrior here, was looking on to France breaking the test ban treaty and setting off those nuclear weapons underground in the water. But the seismologists checked and they said it wasn't the nuclear weapons that made these 7 loud, mysterious sounds that sounded around the world, so much so that they were reported on TV and in newspapers. And I remember the day they were reporting it on the news, and I just stood still there and I went, 7 thunderous sounds reported around the world and nobody knows what it is. And the Lord says, yes, that was my 7 thunders. And I go, oh my Lord. So then I started researching it and getting the newspaper articles and so forth. And I'm going, yes, there you are. You're on the Rainbow Warrior vessel that was protesting the testing, and yet the seismologists from around the world said, no, it wasn't the nuclear testing that made these sounds. So there you go. It's already happened. And the book of Nostradamus was the little book of Revelation 10, the detailed history from the time Jesus left till the time he's coming back. And it's hidden in it was sealed up on the back side of Revelation 10. In other words, it was on the backside because it was detailed history that we were not to know about until it took place. Men have a habit of changing things if they know something's going to happen. So when the 7 thunders sounded, it said, seal them up. Let's not let anybody know right now, but we're going to see what happens. And the angel which I saw standing upon the sea and on the land raised his right hand to heaven and swore by him who lives forever and ever, God, who created heaven and the things that which are therein, and the earth and the things which are therein, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be no more reckoning of time. I want you to circle no more reckoning of time. I want you to go back to verse 4 and circle 7 thunders. So when the 7 thunders sounded, there was no more reckoning of time. From 1995 on, we have been living in the last days, the last of the last days, the last minutes of the last days, because time is no more. He said at this point, from this point forward, everything spoken of in this book of Revelation, in these 7 trumpet judgment angels now, is going to take place. So we can look back to the first trumpet angel. If we look back, that took place. That it began taking place at chapter 6. Chapter 6. So we've already been through that much. We've been, I believe, through most of that up until we've been through almost all of the first woe. Almost all of it. Maybe all of it. But we know we haven't gotten to the beginning of the second woe yet. So let's go back to verse 7. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, that would have been William Branham, when he shall begin to sound, which was in the 50s, early 60s, the mystery of God will be fulfilled as he has proclaimed to his servants, the prophets. So in other words, what William Branham preached or prophesied, and what all the old-time servants and prophets in the Old Testament prophesied, will be coming to pass shortly. And the same verse which I had heard from heaven spoke to me again, saying, go and take the little book, which is open in the hand of the angel, which stands on the sea and the land. So that's God standing with this book of Revelation, which has already been opened. It was open since he left. We just haven't understood it. And I went to the angel, and as I was about to say him, give me the little book, he said, take it and eat it. In other words, take this whole book of Revelation and eat it, study it, eat it, put it into your spirit. Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which stands on the sea and the land. And I went to the angel, and as I was about to say him, give me the little book, he said, take it and eat it, but it shall be sweet as honey in your mouth. Let's see. And I went to the angel, and as I was about to say to him, give me the little book and let me, he said, take it and eat it, and it shall make your belly bitter, but it shall be sweet as honey in your mouth. So it's going to be good because it's going to taste like honey in our mouth, because we're going to gain so much knowledge that you didn't have before. But it's going to be bitter, because as you see what is going to happen to this earth, it's tragic and it's bitter. So I took the little book out of the hand of the angel, out of God's hand, Jesus's hand, and ate it. So the Lord is opening up our understanding to the book of Revelation. And it was sweet as honey in our mouth, but as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. Now, that's because, remember back here, we saw wormwood. That was bitter. So he's saying, beginning with wormwood, this is all going to be very bitter. Then he said to me, you must prophesy again about many peoples and nations and the heads of nations and kings. Okay, well, who's going to be doing that prophesying if it was not the prophet Nostradamus letting these details be known? Nostradamus did the details. You must prophesy again, and many nations and heads. So it's saying there's more prophecy. Where is all that prophecy that was there, unless it's the prophecy that was sealed up on the back side that we spoke about earlier? So Nostradamus has the sealed information in the Revelation 10, verse 11. He said, you must prophesy again. So once, who's going to prophesy again? John wrote this whole book of Revelation. He wrote it, and then he died or was taken alive. We don't know what happened to John exactly. But he wasn't doing any more prophesying after this, was he? So the backside was all left up to Nostradamus. Now, we're going to take another break, and I will be back with chapter 11. Thank you.